2023 Municipal Candidate Forum for the town of Kill Devil Hills, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dare County. I am Fran Kapanos. I'm coordinator for this forum. And I'd like to thank you all for coming, as well as the candidates for participating in this event. The League of Women Voters is celebrating its 103rd anniversary, and we are proud to continue the tradition of bringing candidates and voters together in this way to empower voters. I will now introduce the moderator for this event, and that is Linda McGee.
Thank you, Fran. Another good evening. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters, and I live in Manteo. It has been our choice in the past not to have a moderator doing this in the town in which they reside, so I'm from Manteo. The League is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, grassroots organization. It encourages informed and active participation in all levels of government. It works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and it influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League maintains a strict nonpartisan policy. It neither endorses nor opposes any political party or candidate. The League participates in the Positive Campaign Project and has requested that each candidate tonight take the Code of Campaign Ethics pledge. We prohibit campaigning or campaigning literature in the forum room. Please turn off all your cell phones, if you will, or electronic devices, and please do not text during our discussion this evening. Other League members who are participating tonight are our greeters, and they're the people that welcomed you when you came in, and they will also be retrieving question cards from the audience. They are Megan Conway, Joe Voigt, and Tony DiBernardo. The question reviewers are Ginger Walters, Barry Place, and Mary Ann Slasinski. I knew I was going to get Mary Ann's last name wrong. Pardon me? Mary Jane Sislinski. The timekeeper is Lorelei DiBernardo, who is also the chair of all the League's candidate forums. We encourage a lively and respectful discussion. If you think of a question during the forum, please raise your hand, and one of our staff persons will bring you a card for you to be able to write down your question. Let me tell you about the town of Kill Devil Hills candidates. There are 2 candidates for mayor, and there are 3 candidates for 2 commissioner seats. All of these will be up for election on November 7th, and each one will be on your ballot. The candidates for mayor who are present this evening are Ben Sproul and John Windley. Mr. Sproul is the incumbent and is currently mayor. Mr. Windley is a challenger and currently serves as a commissioner. The commissioner candidates are Ivy Ingram, she is an incumbent. B.J. McAvoy, he is an incumbent. And Michael Denny, who is the challenger, who cannot attend this evening due to unexpected circumstances. Now let me share with you our format for tonight. This evening, the first thing we do is we have each candidate have 3 minutes for an opening statement. The timekeeper will signal when the candidate has 30 seconds left, and the timekeeper will stand if the candidate continues past the allotted time. Next, candidates will respond to questions from the audience. Questions that were either submitted prior to the forum meeting by voters or submitted by you tonight. There are also some questions from the League. The questions must be signed with you listing your town of residence or your business location. Our League reviewers have reviewed and will review questions for clarity to avoid duplication. We believe this procedure affords the greatest variety of subjects to be considered and discussed. I will read the question. It is written, and I will identify the submitter. The League advocates positive campaign practices, and we reserve the right to omit any question that is viewed as a personal attack. Questions may be addressed to a specific candidate or all candidates, and questions directed to a specific candidate may be answered by any candidate if they wish to do so. 2 minutes are allotted for each response to a question. The timer will signal the candidate with 30 seconds remain and will stand again as the candidate tends to go over the overtime allotted. If a candidate initially passes on answering a question, they will not be given an additional opportunity to answer that question. Finally, after all the questions that time permits us to be able to present tonight, each candidate is entitled to a 2-minute closing statement. So we have basically a 3 process that you will get to be able to hear from the candidates tonight. Before we started, the candidates drew numbers to establish the order for their opening statements, and we will then later reverse that order for closing statements. I wanted to let you know that the candidates before you, as you see, they have all of their name tags available for you to read plainly. If I ask a question and it's not understood by any of you and you'd like me to repeat it, don't hesitate, just let me know, okay? I suspect that you knew all the things I've said this evening beforehand, but the questions you would not have, nor have I. The order in which we will have our opening statements, our first opening statement will be from Mr. B.J. McAvoy. Our second opening statement will be from Mr. Ben Sproul. Our third opening statement will be from Mr. John Windley. And our fourth opening statement will be made from Mrs. Ivy Ingram. All right. Shall we begin? I will call first on Mr. B.J. McAvoy.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's so nice to see everybody in attendance. My name is again B.J. McAvoy. I am thankful for the League of Women Voters for putting together this forum, and I wanted to thank them for all the work they do, and it's an honor to be in front of Judge McGee. For those who don't know me, I'm the father of 3 school-age children, and I live in the Wright Shores. I've been serving as an attorney on the Outer Banks for 20 years and representing people from real estate transactions to estate issues to traffic law, family law, civil disputes of all kinds, and been in the courts for all 20 of those years. I've served the last 4 years as a commissioner in Kill Devil Hills, and I'm very proud to be part of this board. I think we have an excellent working group. Really have dedicated town employees and a board that's really conscientious, and I am proud to be a part of that. I serve as the chairman of the Street Improvement and Special Projects Committee, and we're proud of what we're doing there and helping connect our sidewalks. Basically, I would say one of the things that's real special to us is that you can now move around without getting in a vehicle, and of course keeping our roads kept is a big part of that committee, and we monitor all our roads, we grade all our roads, and we come up with projects for the upcoming years. Constantly looking at our roads, we have over 60 miles of roads. So that committee is the one I chair as a commissioner, and also prior to serving on the board, I was a member of the Bomb Track Committee, which approved the development of the disc golf course that we have. We're very proud of that. And for the past 11 years, I've coached youth sports in the community at the school level, travel level. I've taught music in our middle school and high school. I'm very involved with the youth. I did that last year, actually for a full year. Last year I taught music. I'm a conservative, and I'm a member of the Holy Redeemer Church here in Kitty Hawk. I want everybody to know that I want to be involved in the future growth of this town. I believe my leadership capabilities will help shape this town, And like the members I serve with, John, Ivy, Terry, and Ben, I am convinced we're all here for the right reasons, and we're all here because we want this town to be the best it can be. We have pure hearts, and we're all in it for the right purposes. I truly believe that I'm the right person to continue in doing the work we've done for the past 4 years. I am proud of all of it. I think this board has been really, like I said, conscientious throughout, really wanting to do what's best for most. And we had a tough 4 years of frustration of COVID, like everybody. We had to deal with that, and we didn't necessarily get done what we needed and what we want still. So I have unfinished business. I'm asking for your vote, and I appreciate you listening to my responses to your questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our second opening statement will be by Mr. Ben Sproul.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the league for all you do, and especially for tonight's event. And thank you all for coming out. It's so great to see so many friendly faces from the community. I see some folks back there that I've known since the 80s, and I see some folks that I've just met recently. I see some folks that just moved to the town, and I see some faces of folks that have been here longer than I have. But for those who don't know me well, I got here in the 80s, like a lot of people, waiting tables with some of the folks out there. And if those people that waited tables with me back there were told that I would be their mayor someday, they probably would have laughed out loud back then. So I'm as surprised as you are that I'm here. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of things led me to this point. If those who know me, kind of know the steps that got me here. Before this job, I was on the school board for 11 years, Dare County Board of Education. 5 of those years, my fellow board members elected me as the chair. It was an honor to do that. We were able to build some second group of teacher housing during that time, and we went through a lot of challenges, and proud of a lot of the accomplishments there. Of course, I've served on the planning board here in Kill Devil Hills, 3 different terms, 11 years, so I kind of know the insides and out of that. We put together 2 separate land use plans during that time. I'm also very proud of the fact that sat on the Visitors Bureau board that Ivy sits on now, representing the town. I used to represent the Restaurant Association on that board, and was eventually on the executive leadership team there for the last 2 years. Currently I work for a property management company down on Hatteras, which I really enjoy doing marketing. But prior to that, I had my own business here for about 20 years. And one of the parts of that business was a restaurant. So, of course, I was involved in the Outer Banks Restaurant Association, and my fellow restaurateurs voted me to be their president 10 years in a row, even though I tried to quit a bunch of times. That was a tough job, but we built up the whole Taste of the Beach and all that sort of thing. So it was a very rewarding experience, great community that I learned a lot about, a lot of great business people in that world, as well as in the education world, so lots of teachers. Raised my family here, of course, two kids went all the way through the school system, are at NC State and off in grad school now. I'm very proud of them. But flash forward to 2019, when you elect to be your mayor for the first time. Little did I know that 4 months in we would be dealing with COVID. And I have to say that was probably the most challenging thing that I ever had to do in a leadership role, or really as a human. But I am proud of the things that we accomplished during that time. It was a scary time, particularly at the beginning. And we were able to quickly act in order to use the executive power to be able to allow our restaurants to be able to space everybody out and use their parking lot for seating and all those sorts of things that were then later copied by lots of the other towns. We're really proud to be out in front and help everybody get back to work in a safe way, and I think we had a pretty good outcome. We had some great years the last few years. So here in town, I only got about 20 seconds left. Really proud of the sidewalks that we built, First Street and on the bypass. Really looking forward to the future and seeing what I could do for you in the next 4 years. I look for your vote. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sproul. Our next opening statement will be from Mr. John Windley.
Hello, everybody. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, and thank you to all in attendance who submitted questions in advance. My name is John Windley, and I'm running for mayor of Kill Devil Hills. I'm serving my second term as commissioner, to which I was elected in 2017. I grew up in Bath, North Carolina, and graduated from East Carolina University in 2001. I am a returned Peace Corps volunteer, having served my country in Nicaragua from 2002 to 2004. I'm the operations director of the Community Care Clinic of Dare, which provides medical services to the uninsured and underinsured in Dare County. I have the experience and community connection needed to serve as mayor. I moved to Kill Devil Hills in 2009, and my wife and I are raising 3 children in the town we love. I serve on the boards of the Beach Food Pantry and Children and Youth Partnership of Dare County, which meet critical needs in our community. I'm a proud Rotarian, member and 2-year past president of North Banks Rotary Club. I was appointed to the Coastal Resources Advisory Council, which assists the Coastal Resources Commission in managing North Carolina's coastlines and waterways. So, why am I running for mayor? At the August 8, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting, my opponent voted in support of adding high-density housing to the bomb tract, which is on governmental and recreational use. I strongly opposed his plans and stood with the rest of our board in rejecting his vision for our town. The only developable spot of the bomb tract is the 44-acre Casey R. Logan Disc Golf Course. Converting the disc golf course into high-density housing would cause harmful long-term effects to our town. A dangerous increase in traffic along Veterans Drive and Collington Road, loss of recreational facilities, potential school rezoning, elimination of a maritime forest, and an increased burden on town and county resources. This election is a referendum on the issue of the bomb tract. I vow to support Kill Devil Hills schools, preserve our environmental resources, and celebrate the Casey R. Logan Disc Golf Course. I have one request for tonight's audience. Participate. Tonight's forum is the only opportunity the public has to ask the entire field of candidates questions in person. Ask the questions that are important to you. Speak your mind and make your voices heard. We're all we've asked for this. We want to serve you. Throw fastballs, not softballs. That being said, thank you all for being here tonight, and I humbly ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Windley. Our next opening statement will be from Ms. Ivy Ingram.
Hello, good evening. Thank you guys so much for taking the time. I know that everyone's time is precious, and I really appreciate everyone coming out, and of course to the league for hosting this great event and having us all. And just like everyone else has said, it's really good to see the community come out. I have lived and worked in Kill Devil Hills for 23 years. I am a preschool teacher and a child care in Kill Devil Hills for 23 years. I have lots of faces that I see often of kids that grew up with me. And so I also have torn vocal cords because of that preschool job. So bear with me if I'm a little bit hard to hear. I've been a passionate leader for the environment. I was a chairperson for the Surfrider Foundation for 15 years, where I worked on environmental issues, including fighting offshore oil drilling here off of our coast. And I'm very proud of that. Worked with legislators and made that come to fruition. The combination of my love of children, the environment, and our town is what drove me to run the first time, and it's what is driving me to run again. I'm fair, approachable, and I think most of you in the audience know I respond. I'm willing to talk to you. I'm open to new ideas. And I believe that that's what makes me a good leader. In my role as currently in my role as commissioner, I do serve on the Board of Tourism, as Ben mentioned. I'm also on that executive committee, and I have been part of the long-range tourism plan for that. I'm also a current board member of Outer Banks Forever, which is our national park partnership here. And my past roles in the town have been to serve on many things, but Stormwater Task Force, Building Heights Task Force, and again, always leading with the children in mind and with the environment in mind. So with that, I just want to thank you for listening tonight and giving up your time and participating in this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ingram. Thanks to all of you for your very informative opening statements. Appreciate those. Now, the next step is that we will have questions from the voting public and from the audience. I'm going to be staggering the order of the responses for each question to help ensure impartiality. We will just be moving around. The questions will be Many of them will be for all the candidates, and quite frankly, if a candidate wants to answer a question, even if it's addressed to someone else, they're welcome to do so. Okay? Are we ready? Thank you. The first question is from our league, and it's for all candidates. If you are a challenger, please describe why you're running. If you are an incumbent, which of course all of you are in some form or another, please describe why you feel you should be reelected. We'll start first with Mr. Spruill.
Thank you so much. Yes, I think I alluded to this in my opening remarks that when you get elected mayor, you don't expect a global pandemic. And that definitely put a little hink in things. So while we feel well, I think we really took the challenge very well and the outcomes were good. It did kind of put a lot of things on hold. So particularly capital improvement ideas and a lot of the vision that we put together as a board. Really, we wanted to be cautious during that time for all those obvious reasons. So I feel like there's some unfinished business, and I look forward to working with this board to make a lot of those things happen. Some of the priorities that we've identified that I'm really passionate about are improving the beach accesses, the way they look and function, continuing to work with adding bike and pedestrian facilities, infrastructure, and I'm really hoping long-term that we can find ways to get access to the sound for the public. We have a few accesses, but we have that Baum tract that has a lot of potential and waterfront property on there. So hopefully we can find a way to do that in the next 4 years. I really look forward to seeing what's possible, and I hope that you will support me in doing that.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will be Mr. Windley.
Thank you. I was inspired to run for mayor because I felt obliged to protect the heritage and tradition of our town. When the conversation started about the potentially rezoning the Baum tract from governmental recreational use to high-density housing, I thought not only that was a dangerous idea, but could lead to long-term and harmful impacts in our town. That was really was the impetus for me to get involved and be in this position. I'm also excited to serve as mayor and want to run because I see a lot of potential in our town. I mean, I think addressing pedestrian safety, we've made a lot of progress with the sidewalk in front of the Wright Brothers Memorial, but when I think about and hear from our citizens about this new kind of integration of e-bikes and these fast new technology and pedestrian travel, finding safe ways to educate our community how to integrate all types of pedestrian traffic is something that really is important to me. And then also staying physically responsible. We will continue to have those quality of life improvement projects in Kill Devil Hills, but we've got to keep in mind that all comes out of the taxpayer pockets, and we have to create budgets and phase plans that can meet the needs of our town without overstraining people's pocketbooks. So there we go.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will be from Mr. McAvoy.
Well, I want to agree with Mayor Sproul in that we have a lot of unfinished business. I did say that in my opening as well. I think that this board has done a really good job, if I do say so, but we also believe we can do better and we can do more, and we really just started to kind of get running again after a difficult beginning of our term. So I believe that, and I believe that I'm running personally because I'm, as an attorney, I believe I'm trained as a critical thinker, and I look at everything with a bit of a skeptical approach. And I think if you were to watch, my voting and my actions over the 4 years, you'd see that, I don't believe to ever be a quick rubber stamp. I'm very much sometimes a contrarian or a gnat or a fly in the ointment. I'll ask the questions, the hard questions, and I also will, slow us down at times to try to really be, critical of what I'm hearing, trying to listen to what's being presented, what the motivation of the people presenting it is, whether it's something that is for the benefit of all our residents, you know, because it's unique. Kill Devil Hill's so unique, you know, where we have our residents and we have our non-resident homeowners, and we have, you know, and our business sector. So we have all that to consider, but, you know, I always want to make sure that I'm doing something that is, I'm voting and looking at everything critically, and I'm doing something that's best for the majority of our citizens and the majority of our residents primarily. I do feel a lot of pressure on that. So I believe that you want a commissioner that, you know, will ask those questions and will be critical and look at things with that type of mindset, and that's what I bring to the table.
Thank you, sir. The next answer would be from Ms. Ingram.
I think that one of the first moments, and again, it's like BJ said and Ben said, you know, our first 2 years we basically spent Zoom and, you know, sort of just getting by and doing. So I think really we've gotten the momentum the last 2 years, but along with that has come growing pains, right? I mean, we would all be kidding ourselves if we said that this town hasn't had growing pains. And I think, you know, one of the things I would like the opportunity to do is continue to manage those growing pains, and maybe even do better than we've done in the past. And I think acknowledging that is really important tonight. But to that, one of the things in the last couple months that I spearheaded and that we voted on and approved was a Dune Protection Act. So a couple months ago, we had an oceanfront homeowner come to us and say, "Hey, have you seen this? She came to our meetings, brought pictures. Why went out and met with her, walked the dunes with her, walked the beach with her. I've walked this beach for 20 years. I know that this is not what our dunes used to look like." So I went to our planning and I was like, we have to do something about this. This isn't right. This isn't how CAM has been doing it in the past. It wasn't our problem. It was a CAMA permitting problem. But what we realized through doing that and through a little pushing and figuring out is that, yes, in fact, CAMA's rules had changed. So we went in and put our own dune protection in. And for me, that moment was really eye-opening, that maybe we can change some things. Maybe we can make a difference. And I would love to continue doing those little things. So I would love the opportunity to do that over the next 4 years.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question is for all candidates. As most local business owners will tell you, it's extremely difficult to secure new employees from out of town due to the lack of available housing and the high cost of housing that is available. Workforce housing, in quotes, has faced resistance at the local level in recent years. Explain how you will be different and stand up to the, quote, not in my backyard, unquote, contingent. Was that clear? Or shall I read it again? Okay,
That's clear.
all right. And this was submitted in advance by Brian McDonald. The first answer will be from Mr. Windley.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald, for submitting that question. Up until recently, our board has done a pretty good job finding creative and unique ways to address housing in Kill Devil Hills. We are promoting mixed use along our commercial zone to encourage businesses, and maybe the bottom story of a business can be commercial, the top half could be residential. We've expanded and diversified housing options in the residential zone that are deed restricted, that can only be used for long-term housing, which will add more inventory to our long-term housing, you know, in our town. I think we've been more creative and come to the plate with more unique solutions that have addressed housing issues we face, and we've seen more results in our town than probably our peers. But we've also done it in a way, you know, Mr. McDonald's question says, without being NIMBYism. Well, we have to respect the opinions and thoughts of the folks who live here. We have to find a balance between addressing housing shortage that we have, but also preserving our town's character and not turning our town to a place so overrun with housing people no longer want to live and visit here. So we have to look at this issue from all sides. We have to continue to be creative and find those right solutions that fit the character of our town without overstepping it.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will be from Mr. Sproul.
Thank you so much. Yeah, very important topic. I think when I talk to members of the community of all kinds, from kids to folks that own businesses, folks who want their children to come back and live here, the cost and availability of housing is the number one issue for our community. It has been for many, many years, but it's really hit a fever pitch. I think I'm speaking to the choir here. You guys know this, right? The NIMBYism issue has been a super big frustration, I know, for the county, because we have that big pot of money that's come from the state, and everybody's seen the controversy about how that's been playing out. Going forward, there is a new housing task force that's being formed, where I will sit on that board, at least for the interim, and as well as all the other mayors and town managers and folks from planning from all the different municipalities and folks from the county. Bob Woodard's here in the audience. Thank you for coming out. To his credit, he is getting that group together to have that kind of input. I think that will give us a leg up on finding a way to work together more collaboratively and more productively going forward, and everybody sits across the table from each other on a regular basis. That certainly helped us during COVID, when all the mayors, we were on calls every day for 3 or 4 months, Zoom calls, trying to navigate that difficult situation. And the side benefit of that was that we really got to know each other as people and as thinkers, and ways to creatively find solutions to very, very difficult and challenging problems. This is the biggest and the most challenging problem. I will say that, the Baum track, we had some opportunity to rezone that. It wasn't a perfect fit. I was an advocate. The vote was split. I think that the arguments made on both sides were great. I think that those discussions should continue, that there's ways to find ways for us to come together, but it's that back and forth and being able to be frank about things and bring different perspectives that is going to find the solutions that we're looking for.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will be from Ms. Ingram.
I would, we all serve, so we've all been part of a lot of these, adding ADUs, mixed use, changing some deeding to property to make it 90 days or longer. So I think Kildare Hills has been part of the solution for a while. Yes, the bomb track, a lot of us were not in favor of that. But I think, the problem is going to obviously require a little bit more than just putting up 400 units here, putting up, it's a combination. And I've done a lot of reading about it, and there's a lot of different solutions. I'm currently chairing the programs committee for the State of the Child for Dare County. And that one of the biggest, so my task and my job in that is to figure out all the things that could be improved for children in Dare County. It's a big job. And one of the things is not just housing, but childcare. And so when we look at bringing in mental health providers, obviously housing is, even physicians, housing is the number one, and childcare is the number two. And so, I think it's going to take a lot of different solutions. And I think thinking out of the box, incentivizing in some way to bring some of the Airbnbs back from people's personal property, bring it back into long term, is one of those ideas that I think we should look at. It's a big thing, and there's a lot of people working on it. And I again appreciate the county, and I hope we can figure out something.
Thank you, ma'am. The next answer will come from Mr. McAvoy.
Okay, thank you. My mindset is a little more intense, I think. More like a defense attorney or like a coach. I feel, yes, we have done as much or more than any other town in the county as far as trying to come up with some creative ideas. Like we had spoken of, mixed use, deed restriction, ADUs. All of these things are little slices at the problem, right? If if all the towns do that and do their part, you know, we can begin to make some progress in this, and it is important. I'm not trying to say it's important, but I am so I'm a little defensive when, you know, because I believe Kill Devil Hills is working hard on it, and we are being most creative of all the towns. In addition, I also have a little of that NIMBYism myself, because I believe that because we are so densely populated, and there is a little bit, you know, and although we have some land, I guess, here and there that the town owns, you know, we have to protect it, and we have to protect the integrity of this town. It is really popping at the seams, and to say Kill Devil Hills has to solve the problem because we have the businesses here, it's just not fair. I believe it's a county problem. I believe there is a lot of space in this county. It's a very large county. There's space across the bridge. You know, this large county has other resources. Kill Devil Hills is maxed out, and to me, you know, to like for the other towns not to do more than their share with the space that they have. You know, I'm going to be very protective of Kill Devil Hills. I did not like that plan in the bomb track for many, many reasons. Well, it would change the whole school campus. Would have taken away the golf course, disc golf course, of course. It would have done a lot of. It would have made this intersection insane. It's already insane. It would have made it insane. So it just wouldn't have worked. I think it would have been a disaster. But we have to, and my job is really to protect this town. And in a way, yeah, I want the other towns to do their part and the county to do their part.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from the league, and it's related. Do you think that municipal governments can impact the low-cost housing shortage along the Outer Banks, and how? It's very much related to what we just said, but focusing on, do you think that municipal governments can do that? The first answer will be from Ms. Ingram.
Well, as you know, we can't. You know, that is the $1 million question, right? People, every time we zone something, or every time, you know, the question is, well, is it going to be affordable? Well, we don't have that power. That's not within any municipal government's power. Again, the best we can do is think out of the box, brainstorm, add as much as we can to the stock without going over density, and again with protecting our town. So I would have to say probably no. I don't think it's within our power to necessarily, you know, we can't regulate what people are charging.
Thank you, ma'am. The next answer will be from Mr. McAvoy.
Well, yeah, that's correct. I mean, the free market will dictate a lot of these things, and we really don't have any power over that. We all know it's getting expensive. We all do have desires to have our children hopefully live here and be able to live here, want to live here and be able to live here. Two things. So we all want that, and of course our businesses need their employees, and we need our workforce, which lives really here in Kill Devil Hills. So, and Collington. The thing that I have a different perspective in that I think it is a bit of it has to be a shared problem with the businesses. I don't think the municipalities can solve this problem. I hear the businesses and what they need, but at the same point, I'm not sure that's government's role really to control all of those things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we can make a difference. We can try to make it easier. We can do some things, and we have been creative, and I've voted for all these things that we did. As a matter of fact, this board's been very conscientious about it. It's just that, you know, is it government's role to control these things? Is it government's fault that there's, you know, we don't have enough employees? You know, I mean, is it our job to then, you know, make that happen? You know what I'm saying? And is it our job to do it here in this densely populated town, this town? You know, we all have responsibility, but we also, you know, as a commissioner, I believe I have a responsibility to protect the citizens and keep this place from being overrun.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will be from Mr. Sproul.
I really love this format. You know, this event, thank you, League, for doing this,
We have
because you really get a feel for kind of the dynamics of these difficult topics. This is the number one most difficult topic, and everybody has strong feelings about it. But I think what you're starting to see as you see us all answering the questions is, I kind of lean on the optimist side. I am the one who will say, I do believe that in the long term, if we're strategic about it and thoughtful and think big, we can, in the long run, lower the cost of housing for our local population. It's being done in other areas. We've studied them in Colorado and that sort of place. These units that are coming on now that are deed restricted, right? Right now, there's so much demand that the price will be what the price is. We really need to actually balance out just the supply and demand. We need a lot more housing before anything will ever come down in price. But eventually, if you have enough housing that's deed restricted to only be long-term, eventually there'll be kind of two markets. The highest and best use here is always going to be short-term. All of us should move out of our house and give it to short-term rental. We'd all make more money. We're not going to do that because we want to live here. We're willing to sacrifice and pay the high price. But if there were two markets, there was another where and we can incentivize that. So we have tools at our disposal to incentivize folks to do the deed restriction, because it's not really in your financial best interest. But it could be. If we were to subsidize a down payment like they do in Colorado, for a small amount of money, we would then buy a piece of property in our town or in our county that would always be available for year-round people, never to go back to short-term. And when you have enough of those, then you start to really nudge the economics. And I know Bob's squirming in his seat back there too, Bob Woodard, because the program that's coming in, we do have ways to do these bigger projects in which the developers are required to have a certain percentage of the units be priced at a ratio to the median income of the moment of the year. So those tools are also available. They just haven't been put into place yet. So we have a lot of opportunities, and I think we're not done chasing after them and finding out what's possible.
Thank you, sir. And the next answer will be from Mr. Windley.
Will you please repeat the question?
Sure. Do you think that municipal governments can impact the low-cost housing shortage along the Outer Banks, and how?
I think we can be creative, and we have been on our board, of doing little things, small projects, different changes that can address the issue. Is it going to make it? Can we solve the entire problem by ourselves? No. I think that is an honest and fair answer to everybody here. We've looked at this, we've been creative, and I think we've, as a board overall, we made decisions. We've how to balance the scales of what is different and what is new, and what was also kind of in line with Kill Devil Hills and character. So I think we will always be able to come to the table and do small projects, maybe some bigger ones that can provide more housing stock for people who need it. But at the same time, we have to kind of be honest. It isn't just a Kill Devil Hills problem. It's not just a Nags Head or Manteo or any other town's problem. It's a universal problem that local governments and the business community and all community stakeholders have a big part in addressing. So I kind of think cumulative effort and creativity and looking at things that have and have not worked are going to be the way forward. It reminds me a little bit, it may not be the most popular thing, but look at beach nourishment. A giant, difficult, impossible task. And then the county and the towns got together, found a way to make it happen, and we achieved something. So there is a track record of teamwork and positive outcomes and finding a way forward. And I'm hopeful that the same can happen for housing.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is also for all candidates. It was submitted in advance by Clayton Scarborough. What is your vision for the last bit of unimproved piece of the Baum tract? Land that was partially donated by former Mayor Diane Baum St. Clair for the benefit of the community. And what is the best use for the land that is currently home to the Casey Logan Disc Golf Course? Now, would you prefer that I divide that into two questions? Okay, all right. The first answer will come from Mr. McAvoy.
Well, thank you. So like 6 years ago, I was on the Baum Tract Committee. We did a study. We worked hard as a committee. We paid an advisement company to come in, do a study, and we looked at all of the possibilities. Everybody wanted a piece of it. some of our town agencies want a part of it. Everybody wanted a part of it. Okay, so we basically settled in what would be the least amount of a footprint, but also something that would, be attractive and a common area where people could gather. So we went with the disc golf course, and matter of fact, very few people actually built that course, by hand, and people from that committee. And we were all really proud of what it's become. I mean, I don't think anybody knew it would become that, So it's really gotten legs. It's great. We're all in agreement that it's great now. Just much more than we thought it would be. But there is still a lot of space out there. I personally would like to see some boardwalk areas where people could check out, like what they have up in Duck. I'd also like to see I'd like to see an amphitheater. Obviously, parking. We need to have bathrooms out there for sure. Water, some paved parking or something like that. And I think, yeah, it's a shame not to use it. It's beautiful. If you walked back there, if you played disc golf, or you just gone and checked it out, it's our last resource. Every lot, commercial or residential in this town is almost gone. I mean, we all see them. They're being bought up. New businesses are popping up and empty lots on the bypass. So yeah, this spot is our last spot to use, and of course there's a lot of people that still want to use it. There's a lot of interest in it still, even from our town agencies. But I think it needs to be a gathering spot, a recreational spot, and just work it around the disc golf course.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next answer will be from Mr. Sproul.
Yes, the Bound Tract is a gem in our holdings as a town. We have lots of little pieces of property all around, and that's the one big chunk. 40 acres is a lot. It's one of the biggest undeveloped parts of the entire Outer Banks that's not in a national park or part of Pea Island. I think BJ's outlined kind of some of the ideas that we've kicked around as a board over the years. Obviously, we're not building housing there. We were looking at it. I think the conversation got cut off a little bit too short. I think there were possibilities to do that and a beautiful park there that actually would have been financially very feasible. There are other properties on the Outer Banks that could be a disc golf as well, but those things are all put aside. Now we know that we're not going to do housing there. That's really our vision for it. It's going to be expensive, but I think it will be the kind of amenity that we'd all be proud of for generations. It's waterfront property. Right now there's only a couple little spots where you can put a boat in on Bay Drive and hardly any parking to do it. Knowing how busy it is down at the Soundside Road in Nags Head, we know that we need to go to scale. We actually have to do a lot of parking because the demand will be great. Everyone will want to go use that spot. It is absolutely fabulous, but it's going to take a lot of money to unlock it. So we look to the community. We're going to talk to stakeholders about what you'd like to see, figure out how much that's going to cost, and figure out a way for us to get there. Because, like you said, boardwalks, kayak launch, maybe some grassy area to sit and look at the sunset, picnic areas. There's all sorts of opportunities out there. So we look forward to that. It'd be a really exciting project if we could figure out how to fund it.
Thank you, sir. And the next answer will be from Mr. Winley.
The second question was, what is the best use of the KCR Logan Disc Golf Course? The disc golf course is the best use of that space, period. I didn't know much about disc golf except for seeing a few chain nets around East Carolina University 25 years ago. I never gave it much thought. That disc golf course is a jewel in Kill Devil Hills. Any fall, winter, or spring holiday, that's the most visited park in Dare County. I'm not making that up because I've seen the Facebook post and I didn't believe it. And I went out there and looked, and it's true, packed. It is a tourism hub, and it has exceeded every expectation this board had for it, and we're going to do everything we can to preserve and enhance it. Second question was, what about the rest of the undeveloped space? It's been brought up quite a few times tonight that Kill Devil Hills is the most densely populated, developed town in Dare County. I'd like to keep one little piece of our town green. Keep it a green space. I'm open-minded to walking trails, maybe kayak launches along the Sound, a trail along the Sound so people can walk up there and see it and enjoy it. But we need to preserve some of the environmental character that makes our town special, and that's about the only piece we have left that the town owns. So we hit a home run with the disc golf course. I think it makes it even more special leaving that green space next to it, and we have something special, and I'd like to keep it pretty close to the way it is.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will be from Ms. Ingram.
Well, many of you probably know my husband is an avid disc golf player. So, but in addition to that, I've seen firsthand, I've heard his stories. I've heard him come home and tell me about, the older gentleman who was out playing, who just lost his wife and was, that was the only thing that got him through. And, I think here we're such a community of recreation. We surf, we skate, we do all the things, but sometimes the surf's not good. And sometimes you don't want to buy a $600 surfboard. So I think it's a great recreational opportunity for us here. And I would like to see it stay as it is. And like John, I know that I would also like to add to it, because I don't play disc golf, but I think it would be cool if we had some walking trails through there, if we had some sound access. Of course, we want to add some things to it. It's a big piece of property. I've walked it myself many times, taking my after-school kids out there when I used to own an after-school. I've gone to look at it from the ocean and from the sound side, to see it's a massive piece of property, and there's plenty of opportunity for a lot of different uses. So should it be only disc golf? No. Should disc golf always be there? In my opinion, yes. And I will do what I can to make sure that that happens as well. And also, in addition to just playing off of John's comments as well, I would like to see it remain green space. We've got plenty of playgrounds. We have plenty of, throw some stumps out there, put them in the ground, let the kids jump off the stumps. It's cheaper, it goes a lot farther a lot of times. Let them have some place where they can go play in the woods. And so that's my vision, and that's what I would like to see.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question is from Joe Voigt. Are you willing to state that you will not accept any state money for affordable housing that prevents you from endorsing local regulations? Excuse me. Let me start again. Mine. It is well written. I'm just not reading it as well as I could. Are you willing to state that you will not accept any state money for affordable housing that prevents you from enforcing local regulations and codes? Want me to read that one again? You got it. Okay. The first answer will be by Mr. Winley.
I assume this question refers to the new part of the budget that strips away municipalities' ability in Dare County to govern any projects funded by the $35 million for workforce housing. Our town is united. We passed a resolution condemning that action, as did all the other municipalities in Dare County. I would love to spend their money, but we're going to do it in the right way that doesn't strip the voice of the citizens of our town who elected us to do a job. So absolutely, I do not support that. We'll do everything we can to end it and reverse it. And if there's a way, the county has announced they want to bring together all the mayors and town managers to work out a way to see what happens. I'm going to wait and see and try to be optimistic that something can be produced out of that process that could be beneficial to all. But the way the game is now, I'm a no and strongly opposed to what the state has done, and look forward to finding out more details about how it even came to be.
Thank you, sir. The next answer is from Ms. Ingram.
Well, like everyone has said, as you all know, we passed it by consensus. We passed in opposition to that provision. And so, yeah, it's a no for me. I think, it's overreach at its best. And, it's a very slippery slope. If the state comes in with that, if the county comes in with that state money, and build something that doesn't meet our zoning requirements, who's to say that we can prevent the next person from coming in and doing the same? And so I think it's an incredibly slippery slope, and I'll do everything I can to stand in opposition against that provision.
Thank you, ma'am. The next answer will be from Mr. McAvoy.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely opposed to what's been happening here. It's unprecedented. Everybody should be upset about it. Takes the power out of our hands, and could potentially force something being built here that we don't want. So and that's why we're here. Obviously we're the gatekeepers for those things, and if we lose that power, then we can't. Then we have no say. And Kill Devil Hills, in my opinion, I'll say it probably louder than anybody up here. We're maxed out. We're maxed out. And it really, this could hurt us even more. Like, it could hurt our town even more. So I'm as mad as anybody about it, because we decided not to build this thing over here, and now they're trying to. I feel like it's a way to try to go around it. So it's pretty scary stuff, and we've asked our county to step up and also oppose it. So we're putting pressure on them, and you should too. And we're doing what we can to stop this, reverse this. Especially here in Kill Devil Hills. I mean, we just don't have the space. The other towns, I believe they have space, to be honest. We are maxed out in my book. So.
Thank you, sir. Next answer will be from Mr. Sproul.
Thank you. Yeah, I think my fellow board members have said it well. The question was oddly worded in that no one's really offering us any money. That's not what's happening. But I think we've kind of covered the base pretty well in that we acted swiftly and strongly within hours of this coming to our attention to put together that very well worded resolution, as well as a personal letter from me to all the state representatives involved, to the folks of the county, because it sets such a terrible precedent. I mean, I've talked to some career folks in governance, and they said, I've seen some shady stuff over the years. I've been in politics for 30 years. I've seen some stuff, but I've never seen anything like this. It's flatly unconstitutional. It invites litigation, but if it were to stand, like you alluded to, it sets such a terrible precedent that you would completely strip away all of the ability of us to decide what's going to happen in our town for that project. Now, we get assurances that, we're not going to do that, but it's the principle of the thing. What's written on the paper is just patently wrong and needs to be undone, and we're not going to rest until we find a way to wrestle that out of the state budget.
Thank you, sir. We have two questions that are very similar. They're submitted by Ginger Walters and Travis Trumps, and I'll read the first one because it covers both of them. With the proliferation of corporate Airbnbs, do you see this as an encroaching problem on the housing shortage? Do you think there may need to be restrictions on Airbnbs in the future? Okay. The first answer will come from Ms. Ingram.
So as I mentioned earlier, absolutely, Airbnbs, I mean, there's no denying that once everyone turned over their Airbnbs, and rightfully so, it's expensive to live here. So I see both sides for sure. But yes, Airbnbs have definitely played a role in our housing shortage. There's no doubt. Like I mentioned earlier, I would like to see us attempt to incentivize some of those property owners switching back rather than, going back and restricting deeds. I think one of the issues, and I say this a lot when talking to people, that the county and our municipalities have had is growing pains. We have lacked the vision to see 20 years ahead. I even saw it on the Board of Tourism. When we're talking about the long-range tourism plan, everyone wanted to talk 5-10 years ahead. You cannot do that when you're talking about the future planning. You have to look 15, 20, 10 years comes in the blink of an eye. If you're not looking 20 years ahead, you're not predicting what Airbnb could have done. There are communities that absolutely predicted what Airbnbs would do, and they restricted their zones well ahead of the Airbnb boom. We missed that. But I do think we can go back and do some incentivizing to potentially bring some of those Airbnb back to our long-term stock.
Thank you, ma'am. The next answer will come from Mr. Sprout.
Ivy covered that topic really well. It's certainly near and dear to my heart. I work in property management, and I know that it's a muddy, tough topic to talk about because we think of Airbnb as renting out a room in your house, but it's evolved into this thing where a lot of these oceanfront homes are triple listed. They're listed on VRBO, they're listed on HomeAway, and they're listed on Airbnb. And now they've got software that pulls them off the other when they book with one or the other. So none of the numbers make any sense because it says we have 60,000 homes here. We don't have 60,000 homes here. So, and on the other side, you'll hear people talk about is that it actually helps locals when they want to stay in their home, but they're getting priced out. If they can rent out a room in their house, Airbnb, make a little extra money, it actually helps people stay. And that's really what we see as kind of the benefit of it as well. But Ivy really has the keys to our situation right now. It's about incentivization. We've talked about it in a number of different questions that our board has been super creative about finding a way, like, well, how do we pull the levers? What is it that will inspire someone to take the action that we want them to take? We don't have a lot of money to throw at the problem, but what can we do with zoning and concessions that would lean people towards moving in the other direction? So we're really kicking around a lot of ideas at the planning level, so hopefully we'll see some of those things come out over the next month and year. So yeah, it's a super challenging problem, and it's easy to just call it Airbnb, but it's really, short-term rental is our main business on the Outer Banks, and we've got to figure out a way to incentivize year-round housing.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will come from Mr. Windley.
I'll second the motion that Commissioner Ingram did a really good job answering that question. Incentive, as difficult as has been to see Airbnbs proliferate and take so much of the long-term rental inventory away, it is a tool that a lot of families utilize to stay here. When you think about, there's been a lot of talk about our police officers and firefighters and all those career people that make our county work. If that Airbnb income may be what keeps them able to pay their mortgage for an expensive house in Dare County. So while it has had a harmful effect, it's a useful tool to help families who need it. I think like you've heard from everybody up here today, we need to be creative in how can we incentivize people who have an Airbnb to maybe move over and come back to the long-term rental market. And we may be seeing that already starting to happen a little bit. If you think about this summer and how some of the slowdown we saw coming back down to normal after the COVID years, a lot of people rushed to the market to cash in on Airbnb rentals that may not have seen the return on investment this year. And now that long-term housing and long-term rentals are at a peak premium, it could be the market may start adjusting itself. People can say, hey, I'm not getting the rentals I did in my Airbnb. Maybe it's time to jump back in and rent my place out long-term. I'm going to get ultra max return on that, which may attract a higher kind of clientele to rent it. So, Airbnb has a place and it caused a problem, but I think with a little creativity, we can find ways to kind of balance the scales.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will come from Mr. McAvoy.
Thank you. I want to be clear. I think Airbnb and VRBO are not the enemy here. It's a result of market and the internet. We all wanted to 10, 20 years ago wanted to rent our house on the west side of Kill Devil Hills, but didn't have the vehicle to advertise it. So it's the result of market and the internet advertising. Where we can get to everybody now, whereas it used to just be the rental companies that could get to those folks that wanted to rent our houses. It absolutely has helped people, keep their house, supplement their income, whatever it may be. It may help a lot of people stay here. And it's not really to be messed with, in my opinion. The market will control it. It's not government's necessarily job to get involved in that. Controlling it or thinking we can control it, you're seeing an adjustment, like John said, you're seeing an adjustment that will happen naturally, right? That people will say, well, it's a lot to rent weekly, it's a lot of work, you know, and then maybe we'll just go back to the year-round rental. So I think it's gonna have to go on its own, and I fear government involvement in incentivization. We've done it in some things. We've done some incentives. We've been creative, so to speak, but, you know, giving a credit costs money. You know, it's money lost or income lost in some spot, right? You're not giving a credit and not losing income as a town or something of that nature. So incentive is a nice word, but somewhere the cost is coming from somewhere else. So it's kind of smoke and mirrors. So I believe that you just leave the market to do these things, you know, and I think over time, you know, maybe you can encourage through non-invasive ways, but credits and incentivizing, that can really be messy business, I think, for a town. So.
Thank you, sir. Our next question focuses on public safety and is submitted by Courtney Gallup, and this is for everyone. The latest FBI crime statistic report says that the Kill Devil Hills has more violent and property crimes than all the beach communities. What are your ideas for making Kill Devil Hills the safest town in the Outer Banks? Is that clear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first answer will be from Mr. Sprout.
Yeah, that's a good question, Courtney. I appreciate that one. That's a great question. The nice part about this job is we do interface with the folks in the police department on a regular basis, and we're privy to a bunch of data, and there are a whole bunch of new tools that are coming online that are going to stretch our budget and make things easier to keep tabs on those challenging parts of our, you know, like you said, it might be the worst statistic around, but it's still a lot better than Raleigh, right? It's a lot better than a lot of other places. But we've never let good be the enemy of great, right? So one of the things that we put in the budget this past year was remote speed monitoring devices. They've gotten super sophisticated, so they're now solar powered, connected to the internet, and you can find all the data in real time. That frees up officers to be other places so that the robot, the little camera, can say, oh, well, we have a speeder on 5th Street, and he comes home at 4:30. So go over there at 4:30. So that just makes us work smarter, not harder. I think you saw in the paper that NAG's head is putting in a bunch of cameras that track everybody's license plates. Kind of spooky, but it's all about efficiency and using data in a way that can make us safer in the end. I'm with you that when you find a statistic like that, you really want to go after it. And those are the kind of indicators we use to make smart decisions about policing. So look forward to see what we can do about that.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will be from Mr. McAvoy.
So Kill Devil Hills, as we all are seeing, is getting more intense. It just is. Every year, I feel like a true local now because I've been here 20 years, but I said, man, I remember 20 years ago when it wasn't like this. It's just so intense. And every commercial lot is being developed now. That's actually big on the bypass. So obviously we have this large, we have the most densely populated town by far, and that of course will skew the statistic greatly. Obviously we're certainly more populated, so it's a little unfair. Moreover, we also have the most businesses, and that's for sure. So that also creates a little that environment a little bit. So because of the fact that this is the business district, so to speak, and because it's only getting more intense on the road, more cars, more people, you know, and amplifying, safety is a real big concern. I think we have a great police force. We all believe, you know, in their abilities to do their job. I think we will have to continue to add officers. We do retain them, and we do pay competitively to the other towns, and we just want to continue to recruit, you know, good officers. I think our chief has done an excellent job, but his job is getting exponentially more intense. Just like you guys feel it on the road. You can feel it in the stores and the restaurants. This place is not quiet. Kill Devil Hills is not really quiet anymore. You know, so invites a lot of out of towners, of course, by design, but also, you know, it also invites a lot of people that we may not want by design. So, you know, it's going to be, you know, a challenge for Kill Devil Hills because of all the commercial property and businesses we have. Safety.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will be from Ms. Ingram.
Well, I think this is a complicated question that deserves a little bit more than just law enforcement. We do a really good job funding our police force. They do a really good job at responding. But I think a lot of the crime, especially that we've seen lately, has been due to lack of resources, lack of housing, lack of, food costs. I mean, it goes beyond a little bit of just law enforcement and just regular crimes. I have lived in, if Kill Devil Hills has a rougher part of town, I live in it. And I've seen things. For 18 years here, one of the first things I saw was someone burying something next door, on the lot next door. Well, I drove right over to the police department 18, 19 years ago. They investigated, they took care of it. But I think that it's a problem that is not just about law enforcement. It's about lack of resources. Most recently, just last week, in fact, my neighbor had someone living in their boat. And so I think those kind of things that we're seeing are, the majority of them are not violent crimes. They're lack of resource crimes. And so I think it's something that we need to address that goes beyond law enforcement.
Thank you, ma'am. The next answer will be from Mr. Winley.
One thing that's come up from everybody tonight is, is resources and manpower. We have to compete to make sure all our first responders have the people in place and the resources they need so they can respond to criminal activity and keep our community safe. We've been pretty aggressive when you look at the cost of living allowances we put in our budgets the last few years. It's almost created a little bit of a competition with our neighbors throughout the county, because we got to fight for those firefighters, and we got to fight for the police and all of our county employees, because the truth is, the majority of the folks that work in Kill Devil Hills don't live in KDH, much less Dare County. And we're all committed to the safety and the prosperity of this town. We'll continue to make the resources it takes to keep people safe. I think there's a second piece of this question as well, and it's been alluded to a little bit, is community outreach. Our department does a pretty good job, I think, of National Night Out, networking with the community, and really kind of building a bond with our year-round residents and law enforcement, of having a high level of trust. And I think I'm confident that our citizens know when they call 911 or call dispatch and ask for help, they're going to get a quick and quality response. So not just us funding our police department, but also supporting them and building stronger bonds with our community will continue to hopefully get us off the naughty list of the most dangerous town in Dare County. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question will be our final question. It's from the League. What do you see as the most pressing issue facing Kill Devil Hills, and how would you approach this issue if elected? And the first answer comes from Mr. Winley.
Lots of issues facing Kill Devil Hills. We've talked about housing a lot tonight. I mean, that seems to be the hot button issue of the time. And I feel like, we have a history recently of being creative and responding to housing, but at the same time, we got to balance the scales. We can't start selling our parks and our resources and give everything away just to increase our long-term housing inventory stock. We have to address these issues in a way that preserves our town's character and tradition and maintains a place that everybody wants to live, everybody wants to retire to, and people want to raise their family at. We have a pretty awesome atmosphere in our town now. I mean, last week we had the ice cream social, and we ran out of food, and we almost ran out of ice cream because so many people came out. And I like the fact, and I'm proud that we have community events and a community character that people want to engage with us and they want to be a part of the town. And when you think about how difficult of a challenge housing is, we will continue to work to address it in ways that can hopefully, take little pieces of the problem. But we have to be honest. We have to be realistic. We can't go too far and really hurt the character of our town to do that. So there's my answer.
Thank you, sir. The next answer will be from Ms. Ingram.
Well, I think there's a lot of challenges that face our town, obviously, but like John said, there's a lot of things that we're doing right. As I mentioned earlier, I like to visualize 15, 20, even 30 years down the road. What is this place going to look like when my children are grown and have their own children potentially here? And so that leads me to being incredibly concerned about redevelopment. We're pretty much maxed out on development, but it's not going to be too long before we see redevelopment, and I think that has to be one of our biggest priorities over the next couple of years. Is what's going to be the next Airbnb or short-term rental in our residential area? What is going to happen 20 years from now that we're not thinking about right now? So I think that's redevelopment is probably one of what I would say.
Thank you, ma'am. The next answer will be from Mr. Sproul.
Yeah, I was thinking about this podcast I was listening to with all the late night talk show hosts were all on one podcast, and they were saying, like, the question they hate getting is, who's your favorite guest? Like there would be one when you had thousands of incredible guests. And I think this question is kind of like that, in that, of course, housing is the most pressing issue broadly. And of course, I'm going to work really hard on that. I think that there's lots of opportunities, and if we can make progress on it, the benefits could be huge, especially in the long term. If we have more housing and we have a better balance of short-term to long-term housing in the 10 and 20-year time frame, and those things are permanent, the benefits economically for everybody in the town get bigger and bigger over time. But we have to take the action now when it's hard. It's a hard thing to do now. It costs money now, but the benefits will benefit our kids. So that's kind of the biggest thing that can move, but I can never think about just one, because I'm with you. Like we were talking about, you were mentioning that it's not just about crime, it's about the conditions, right? So one of the reasons I pushed for mowing the grass more often on the bypass, which sounds like a little thing, is kind of that broken windows idea, is that if it looks nicer, everyone will take care of their things better, and that tide raises all boats, right? Every business is going to do better. More people come to Kill Devil Hills and go to those businesses. Every waiter's going to make more tips, and every business is going to have a little more on the cash register. Those are the things that make the quality of life go up and crime go down. So we have to look at the prevention side. I didn't get to mention earlier that one of my things I'm proud of is that I started an organization called CASA, which is Coalition Against Substance Abuse, and there's a bunch. This coalition is great because it's got health folks from the hospital. It's got people that are in recovery. But I was on the prevention side. I used to have a business where I did a thing called Teen Night, and that was our big prevention thing. Is that if kids have something to do, they won't be getting in trouble when they're supervised. They're doing something fun, and that changes the outcome of families for decades. These little things that you do for one kid, one at a time, is what affects crime and affects the future. So yeah, there's a lot to work on, and it's never going to be one thing.
Thank you, sir. The next answer is from Mr. McAvoy.
Thank you. I just answered this question for Vote 411. It asked to identify 3 most pressing issues, and you can read it there, but they've already addressed affordable housing, which was one of mine, and safety, which was another one of mine of 3. But so I'll go to my third one and let you read the others. I believe in our common areas here that we have, the limited spaces, our parks, the small parks we have, of course the Bomb Track Park. And I want to continue to really double down on that, make those parks some of the better parks in the state now. What can we do to really make it attractive for people to use these parks in our town? And I think it started with Nags Head. They did a really good job with that Dowdy Park, and we're getting creative with our park, and they put the splash pad in there, and that appears to be doing really well. Even and Visionaries had a view of that, and that seems to be working out. So what can we do to make our parks really attractive, our gathering spots preserved, places that people want to go. I still feel like some of our parks are not so great, and they could use some updating. So I would like to double down on that. I would like to double down on I think maybe double down on the disc golf course and try to promote that more, with water and parking and bathrooms. So, I think we need to focus on our common areas to bring the town together. Those events are amazing, but also I still feel like our parks are not where they should be, and I feel like that can be better. Of course, beach access, which the mayor has talked about many times. I feel like we need to kind of preserve those, make those still really important and pleasant places. Try to make them more attractive, and beautification, which John has worked on with his committee for all the years I've been on this board, in making sure that Kill Devil Hills is clean and looking sharp. So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Thanks to all the candidates for your insightful and thoughtful answers this evening. Thank you. Now we have the candidates' closing remarks, and we will be going in reverse order from our opening statements, and the first closing remarks will be by Mr. Winley.
Thank you again to everyone that came out tonight, asked questions, and participated in our forum. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for providing this opportunity for our citizens to express their questions to the candidates. My vision for Kill Devil Hills is a town that listens to its citizens and puts their priorities first. As mayor, I'll work to find dynamic solutions to the challenges we face while honoring the traditions that make Kill Devil Hills the great town it is. I understand that housing is a critical issue, but not at the expense of losing publicly owned green spaces. I will work with elected officials and community stakeholders to find sensible solutions to our long-term housing problems while preserving the heritage and character of our town. Pedestrian safety is an issue our board will continue to address. We have made tremendous progress with the sidewalk lining the Wright Brothers Memorial, but with increased popularity of electric bikes and scooters have created new concerns, especially along Bay Drive. It's my hope to work with town staff to develop a pedestrian safety plan that encourages safe integration of traditional and new electric pedestrian traffic in our town. Creating physically conservative budgets that meet the needs of our community will always be a major part of our job. Our 20-year debt service on the new fire station will have to be considered when planning and phasing out new town projects. We will continue to make quality of life improvements for our town, but in a physically responsible way for our taxpayers. I plan to work with our Board of Commissioners to enact the will of our people. I believe the best quality of an elected official is one who can listen, not talk. I promise to listen to your questions and concerns, share your ideas with those who may address them, and advocate to make Kill Devil Hills the best town it can be. I humbly ask for your support. I look forward to serving our community as mayor of Kill Devil Hills. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winley. Our next closing remarks will be by Ms. Ingram.
Again, thank you all so much for coming. And I think you will find that most of us are very approachable in our roles. We're very responsive. And so if there's something you have a question about, I always ask, it's funny, people will say, oh, I saw this on social media. There was 80 comments. How many emails did you get? Most of the time, not very many. So I really would encourage you to create more work for us. I mean, we're here for you. We're here to represent you. We're here because, I would say all of us up here and most elected officials in general are here because they want to do the good work. And so I would just encourage you, if you have questions, call. I believe that I foremost am that local leaders have a responsibility to put you all first. That is what I've always done, and that is what I will continue to do if I'm voted in again. And that is clear in my, I'm not sure if you all were aware the last time, but I take no money from any political interest, no OBAR money, no I only take donations. In this campaign, I'm actually completely self-funding. And that's just something that I personally believe that campaign finance is a big issue in our country, and I'd like to be an example for that. And so those are just a few things I'd like you all to know about me. And if you have questions, please reach out anytime.
Thank you, Ms. Ingram. Our next closing remarks will be by Mr. Sproul.
Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure, seeing you all here and and having the dialogue that we're having. You know, this is kind of a version of one of our meetings, but really going down the line with those important topics all at once has been a great experience. So thank you for doing this, and thank you all for taking the time and coming out and caring about your community as much as we do. I'll reiterate what Ivy said. During COVID, we definitely found out that everyone knows how to reach their elected official. So I probably had thousands of emails during that time, but I do want to get more emails now, right? So I feel like I probably, my phone number is probably in more people's phones than a lot of folks on the Outer Banks, and that's a blessing and a curse, but it's a blessing in this job. So my number is 252-202-8837. I hope you text me and call me anytime. Phone number, obviously all our emails are really easy to find online. I did want to say, just in closing, that you're trying to see the differentiation between me and my fellow board member over here. As a board, we all just get one vote. I'm holding the gavel at the moment. I would like to continue to do so. I hope that I have been bringing the board together and having us produce the best work we can for you. I think everybody comes to the meetings well-informed. We don't have a lot of contention. We've got a really great dream team, and I don't think we should change it. So if I did, I would just step out and let Wendy do it. So I hope that he doesn't take offense with that. I look forward to working with you for the next couple of years, and hopefully 4 more years after that as well. I ask humbly for your support for re-election, and I thank you again for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Sproul. And our next closing remark will be by B.J. McAvoy.
Thank you. I want to reiterate what the mayor just said. It is really a great working group. I am very proud to be on it. Commissioner Gray is in the back there. He's the other one that's not here. He's not having to run, lucky him. But we work really good as a team. I think that's been shown by the reaction from the community. I mean, we've had a lot of support, and certainly I want to continue what I'm doing as part of this team. I do believe in making this a place for my children to hopefully live someday, and I have that goal, and everybody up here is a family person. They really have that goal. You know, they're all in it for the right reasons. And now do we have differences? Yes, we absolutely have differences, and I fully support Ivy in her run for commissioner. Hope you vote for both of us. But you know, she's great. She does great work. And we have some political differences, maybe on a national level and things like that. But ultimately, you know, like, she's a hard worker and she does a great job. So, you know, I'm very proud to be part of this group. I always brag on it. I really enjoy our town employees. I just want to continue to do the work. I mean, we started out a little slow because of COVID. And I think we have a lot of really good vision, and like I said, we have people that really do care, you know. So that's the case. I've never seen nor spoken to Mr. Michael Denny. I just want to be clear on that. So and I think that's important. You know, I think that's important. I'm not gonna rake him over the coals. He's not here, but there's just two. But honestly, there's two. There's really two. There are two people you see and working hard right here for you, and I hope you'll give us the vote to keep doing the work we're doing, and trust us to build this town for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAvoy. Well, we wish to thank all the candidates again for your helpful participation. We appreciate the voters for your attendance and your questions. And I appreciate also our league members who have helped present the Kill Devil Hills Candidate Forum. We also want you to say thank you to the town of Kill Devil Hills for the use of your meeting room and for videotaping this forum. We will post the video on our website, which is lwvdarenc.org, and on our YouTube page. The Dare County Current TV channel will later broadcast the forum, and you can check their website for dates and times. I will now turn this meeting back over to Fran, our forum coordinator for this event.
Again, thank you all candidates. You have been so impressive, ready to move to Kill Devil Hills.
Take that endorsement.
Pardon?
Can I say something real quick? Can
Sure.
I give a quick shout out to Alice? Alice up front is the littlest person in the room.
She
So-
sat through it.
And she also has artwork on our trash trucks. So if you see her, if you see the artwork, it's Alice.
Now she's getting,
that's
now she's
wonderful.
getting tired.
Good girl. Well, everybody here now has gotten to know our, the candidates here for the town, and what they stand for, et cetera. But if you have any friends out there that have not come here, we need you to let them know that we have a Vote 411, and you will see signs for that. But all of the candidates have been asked to participate in our league's online voter guide called vote411.org. And this is a one-stop shop website that voters may access on their phone or on their PC. And all you have to do is key in your address, and you can view your ballot, the candidate information, their bios, their philosophy statement, social media links, and their responses in their own words to questions that we have posed to them and for more. So please be sure to spread the word and check it out and let your neighbors know about this. And we thank all of the candidates that are here for filling out the Vote 411 form and all of the information on that. This year, the Vote 411 live date, now it's not live yet, but it will be October 19th going forward. So all the information that they have filled out will be live on October 19th. And that is when early voting starts. And as you know, early voting, this is one of the places where our early voting takes place. And so you will be, but things are a little bit different this year. When you go to vote, you will be required to present an acceptable photo ID in order to vote. So bring your driver's licenses, or if you don't have a driver's license, you might have an ID card with your picture on it. You could use your passport. You can also go to the Dare County Board of Elections, and you can have your picture taken there and get a voter ID card. So let your friends and neighbors know that that is a possibility. We do have rack cards at the back as you leave, and all of the acceptable IDs are on this card. The early voting information is also here. And as you know, the November 7th is Election Day, and so that will be taking place here in your precinct on November 7th. So all of this information is on this card. The last day to register to vote is Friday, October the 13th. However, if you go to early voting, let your friends know that you can register on one of the early voting days, which is a 2-week period before November 7th. Early voting is also, you could go to Manio to the Board of Elections building and vote down there if you can't make it over here. Absentee voting ballots may also be requested from now until October 31st. We do have some absentee ballot forms if you want to, if you don't come in person or you know someone that can't come in person, they can vote by absentee ballots, and all that information is on there. And all the absentee ballots must be returned to the Board of Elections by November 7th, which is at 5 o'clock, which is election day. They don't have a 3-day period afterwards, so all the votes have to be, the mail has to be in there by election day. Okay, and so we encourage you to join us as we strive to defend democracy. If any of you would like more information on our League of Women Voters or would like to join, we do have some applications on the back table as well and information about the league. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, candidates.